The biosphere. Let's join our animal friends around the world and explore all the Earth's biomes from the tallest mountains to the deepest depths of the sea. The first of many aquatic biomes are lakes. This is any standing body of water and can range from tiny ponds to much larger lakes, like the Great Salt Lake in Utah and Lake Michigan. The temperature in lakes ranges due to the decrease in light with the increase in depth. This means that the water is more likely to be warmer where there's more light near the surface, rather than near the bottom where it's more likely to be darker and much cooler. Some common organisms found in lakes are photosynthetic, which means that they need sunlight to make their own food. Some examples of these organisms are rooted and aquatic floating plants, like lily pads. Other organisms are called heterotrophs, which cannot make their own food and rely on eating other substances and organisms. Some examples of these would be simpler organisms, like zooplankton and her friends, various invertebrates, and fish. Zooplankton says, "Boy, do I like to float on the surface where it's all warm and bright." Her friend says, "Oh yeah, we can lay back and eat as much phytoplankton as we want. You know we also eat other zooplankton." Uh-oh. Another common aquatic biome is a wetland, which is any inundated area, which is basically any area that's completely saturated with water at least some of the time. There are three kinds of wetlands: basin, riverine, and fringe. Basin wetlands are in shallow basins, riverine are along shallow streams and rivers, and fringe wetlands are along coasts of big lakes and/or seas. Some organisms that live there are plants like cattails that can grow in water and soil, and invertebrates, birds, herbivores, which are plant eaters, and carnivores, which are meat eaters, like Alfred the alligator. Alfred really seems to like living in the wetlands. There's lots of shallow, murky waters that are great for hunting. He says, those birds sure do look delicious." Streams and rivers are another aquatic biome, which are bodies of water with a current. River bottoms are generally coated with sediments, and organisms that live there are aquatic-rooted plants and phytoplankton, along with fish and invertebrates like Tina the trout. She says, "I can't wait to jump in that water." Two other examples of aquatic biomes are estuaries and intertidal zones. Estuaries are the area that transitions between the rivers and seas and can be salt and/or fresh water. Organisms that live there are grasses, algae, and phytoplankton, along with invertebrates, fish, worms, and crustaceans, like Cliff the crab. Intertidal zones are when a shore is underwater part of the time and exposed to the air for the rest. They may be rocky or sandy, and organisms that live there are marine algae and seagrass, along with organisms that attach to rocks or burrow, such as sea sponges, crustaceans, worms, and small fish. Cliff can live in both of these places, but his favorite is the intertidal zone. He just loves to burrow. Ocean pelagic and coral reefs. The ocean pelagic means a huge body of open water, like the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific Ocean. Organisms that live there are phytoplankton, photosynthetic bacteria, zooplankton, protists, small invertebrates, and fish, as well as squids, bigger fish, and marine mammals like Wallace the dolphin. Coral reefs are actually skeletons of coral found near islands or along the coasts of continents. Organisms that live there are unicellular red and green algae, along with heterotrophs like coral, fish like Carl the clownfish, and invertebrates. These are two pictures of the ocean and coral reefs. Did you know the ocean covers 70% of the world? Thanks for exploring the aquatic biomes with us. Now we're going to move on to land and discover the terrestrial biomes. The first of the terrestrial biomes is the tropical rainforest. There's a lot of rainfall that occurs there, about 200 to 400 centimeters on average. The temperature is generally hot and humid all year round, and the plants are characterized by canopy trees with many layers, shrubs, and broadleaf trees. Animals that live there are a huge variety of biodiversity, including amphibians, birds, reptiles, mammals, insects, spiders, etc. This is also the home of amphibian Trudy the tree frog. Another terrestrial biome is the desert. The precipitation is very much the opposite of the tropical rainforest and is extremely low, less than 30 centimeters per year. The temperature varies between seasons and day and night. It's very cold at night and scorching hot during the day. It ranges from 50 degrees Celsius to negative 30 degrees Celsius. The animals that live there are snakes, lizards, beetles like Bernie, birds, and rodents. Some of the plants consist of scattered plants with small vegetation and succulents like cacti. Succulents are plants that can store large amounts of water in times of drought. Bernie says, "It may look boring, but just wait until nighttime. All the critters come out and play because most of us are nocturnal." Two other terrestrial biomes are the savanna and temperate grasslands, which are extremely similar. The savanna has seasonal rains and periodic droughts and is generally warm, 24 to 29 degrees Celsius. The plants are scattered trees and grasses that can adapt to dryness and fires, and animals that reside there are large herbivores like billy bison and antelope, predators like lions and hyenas, and insects. The grasslands have seasonal temperatures, ranges with cold winters and hot summers. They also have dry winters and wet summers. The plants that live there are grasses and forbs. They are also fire and drought resistant. The animals are large grazers like bison and wild horses, along with burrowing mammals. These are two pictures of savanna and temperate grasslands. Of course, both of these biomes are very similar, and both have yummy grasses for Billy the bison to munch on. Coniferous and temperate forests. North coniferous forests are cold with long winters and hot summers. The precipitation is 30 to 70 centimeters with occasional droughts, and plants that live there are cone-bearing trees called conifers. Some examples are spruce and pine trees. The animals are large mammals like bears and mooses like Morty. They also have migratory birds. Temperate forests are like what we have here in Michigan. The precipitation is constant throughout all seasons, and winters are cold and summers are hot, ranging from 0 to 30 degrees Celsius. The plants have very distinct layers like the rainforest, with a canopy, understory, and shrubs. Deciduous trees like oak and maple. Some animals that live there are mammals that hibernate like bears, and birds that migrate and fly south for the winter, like ducks. Here are the temperate and coniferous forests. Marty says, "I prefer the coniferous forests, but when the fall rolls around in temperate forests, those trees are beautiful." The last of the terrestrial biomes is the tundra. Precipitation is generally only 20 to 60 centimeters annually, which means per year. The temperature in the tundra is the winters are cold and long, followed by short, cooler summers. Some animals that live there are large grazing animals like oxen, caribou, and reindeer, predators like wolves and foxes, much like Ferdinand, and migratory birds. The plants that grow there are mosses, grasses, forbs, and lichens. Ferdinand says, "The tundra can be beautiful and flowering, but it can also be covered in snow. In the winter my coat even changes color so that I can blend into my surroundings and hide from predators." And that wraps up all the biomes. Thanks for joining us on our big exploration.